We have made many changes to our RV, some of which include removing both black and gray water tanks, as well as relocating our fresh water tank. Today, we will show you all of the steps we took to relocate our fresh water tank and of course make it all weatherproof. So, if you have been looking for ways to prevent your fresh water tank from freezing, this video may be all you need to find an efficient and inexpensive solution to your problem. If you want to know why we decided to remove both our black and gray water tanks, we have an entire video talking about that, and I'm going to leave a link in the description for you guys. The whole idea of relocating our freshwater tank came to us when we removed all of the tanks from this water bay, and we realized the potential that we had for storage by having this entire bay from end to end for extra storage. So after giving it some thought, we decided that the best new location for our freshwater tank would be in the front of the RV, right where our original generator used to be located. But with this plan, we had to overcome some challenges. And one of the most important ones was making sure that number one, the water tank would not fall down as we traveled. Number two, that we had enough space for the water tank. And number three, that the tank would not freeze over. It is needless to say that we spent a lot of time thinking about this water tank, the best position, and how to do the whole insulation. Positioning the water tank right in the front of the RV means that all of the air that comes from the front as we travel is going to hit that water tank. It's going to get to it. So we decided that the best option would be to create a box that later on we would also insulate, and this would do several things for us. Number one, it would protect the actual water tank from breaking. Number two, it would stay insulated and prevent the water from freezing. So with all of that in mind, it was then time to take action. And the first thing that we did was move the RV from the parking area of the house down to the street. This allowed us to have a flat surface, and also we lifted up the front of the RV as much as we could to make it easier for Javi to go under the RV right where the water tank will be positioned. Thankfully, we have great neighbors and we didn't have any problems doing part of our work right in the street. What we started early in the day took us into late hours of the night because of the many things that we had to work around. However, by this time, we were very happy that we had almost finished the outer box of the water tank. We used just a regular plywood from Home Depot, and all we did was just measure all of the sides, leaving enough room for both the water tank and also the insulation that we wanted to put inside. So to the water tank, we had to measure out on all sides the additional space that would take for both the plywood and the insulation. And as you can see, we decided to use the foam insulation. It is super easy to use and very accessible. Something else that we added was silicone to all of the screws that we had, as well as all of the seams and any area that we thought air could come in from. We definitely do not want any air inside of this box, and this would keep it all together. And with the box almost entirely built, we then decided to go down and start to put it in position. We did this several times in order to make sure that everything would work out fine. As I said before, this was a good spot. However, it was not the original space that was meant for the water tank. So there was a lot of things that we had to work around. And so we tested the water tank placement a lot of times. Doing it this way was going to be so much easier than waiting up until everything was built and sealed to then try to put it into place and then have to take it out and make changes and etc. So that's a recommendation that we want to give you guys, is to try out along the way. That way you don't do the entire build and put all of the time into something that later on you would have to make adjustments to. And this is how the underbelly of our RV looks like. Right where Javi's head is where our water tank sits. And then it was time to go back and finish all of the details of the interior for the box. As I said before, we added insulation, we did a couple of things, and one other thing that we did was add insulating tape all around the seams of the insulation, because air is our enemy. You do not want any cold air getting to the water tank. That is what freezes the water. It's not so much the temperature as the air that will come into contact with the water tank and freeze everything inside. And our pro tip for today is to use a squeegee to apply this metallic tape. It will make the process so much easier and will assure that the tape will not come off. As you can see, we applied it super quickly and it stays in place. And something that we have shared with you guys on previous videos is to never get rid of the leftovers up until the last minute. In this case, instead of cutting another piece, we decided to just tape together some of the leftover pieces of the foam that we had laying around and just make an entire piece out of them and put it back into place. This is something that helps us use less material and just save money as well by using anything and everything that we can. So keep that in mind. Do not throw anything away up until you're entirely finished with your project. You will be surprised as to how much product you can reuse if you just keep them laying around for a little bit. And again, just as you can see, we were able to reuse a lot of the pieces that we had already cut off. And the very next morning, it was then time to try and finish this project once and for all. We had left some additional space inside of the box of the water tank because we wanted to put both the bladder and the water pump inside of the same box. So we were trying to figure out the best positioning for it and how we could do this. Take into account that we had very limited space, and the main reason we wanted to put both the bladder and the water pump inside of the same box of the water tank was to prevent any water from freezing inside of the water pump. We wanted to protect, again, any of the lines and all of the plumbing. So that's why we came up with this idea of having everything just inside of the same box. And if you guys are interested in any of the products that we use, as far as the water pump and also the bladder, I'm going to leave our Amazon affiliate link in the description. That way you guys can check it out. These are some of the best rated products for RVs or any type of, plumbing that you have to do. We had the same bladder and water pump in our van, and they worked so well that we decided to buy it again for the RV. So again, I'm just going to leave all of the products in the description of this video. That way you have easy access to it. And this is how the interior of the box was looking at this point. It was a little bit tight, but we had just about the space that we needed for the bladder and the water pump. Something else that we added at this point was the water leveling sensors. This is a must, and the older ones that we had that came original with the RV were just too old, so we decided to replace them. And we just had to put them into place and also make sure that we had all of the cables and the electrical installation that we needed. And we also added the cables for the water pump. And then, of course, we had to add all of the plumbing, the inlet and the outlet for the water tank, to which we also went ahead and added foam tube insulation so these water lines would not freeze. Again, we wanted to make all of our plumbing and the water tank insulated to be weatherproof, and this is the way that we did it. Something else that we added as well was this tape to make sure that all of this foam tubing stayed in place, and also that we didn't have any opening in any of the seams. And then it was the time of the truth, I must say. We had to try and put the box into place, for which we're really thankful that my dad helped us out. He's usually around uh, giving us ideas and helping us with all of our crazy projects. So thank you, Dad, for that. And yeah, it was a little bit tricky putting the box into place because we had to figure out all of the plumbing. We had all of the lines. As you can see, they're sticking out right now. But we had to pretty much put all inside of the space that we had and make sure that it would fit. The most tricky part about putting the box into position was the fact that we couldn't just slide it inside of the RV and then push it up, because we had to work around all of the plumbing lines. So it was a lengthy process for us at this point, figuring out how to slide it and put it into place. And after some back and forth, we then decided to get this piece of wood for leverage so that we could somehow fit this box in the space that we had. As I said before, even though we had some room, we had to work around the limited space that we had, and this took some time to do. And unfortunately, after trying for quite a while to put the box in the space, we realized that it was just too exact to be able to fit it in. Remember that we had to slide it in and then kind of just try to put it into place. And the box, we just had to cut it down a little bit. Something else that we also realized at this point is that having the water pump inside of the same box as the freshwater tank wasn't really a very good idea down the line, because if we for some reason in the near future had to replace the water pump or service it, in order to do so we would have to take down the freshwater tank with everything. So it would just be better to have it in a separate area that was more accessible, and also by doing so we would be able to cut down the box and we will be able to fit it better in the space that we had. So that's what we did. We just went ahead and cut down a couple of inches from the box, and then we had to do it all over again. And you may be wondering why, if we had already fit the box in the space and done all of the adjustment, it's a night again and we still hadn't finished with this project. And the answer is very simple. If you pay attention here, the box has been painted. And the reason we did that, it's because this is plywood. And the location where it is located, it's right in front of the RV, and as we travel, the underbelly is going to get wet and dirty and so on. So we decided that it was a good idea to use some of our leftover interior paint to just give it a couple of coats to the box. This is an oil-based paint, so it would just help to protect this wood from getting wet or rotten down the way. And after some work and struggle, we managed to put the box in position. It was not an easy task, but it turned out to be a really good thing that we did. Having the freshwater tank up front in the RV. It's not the conventional way to do things. Again, I don't think that we do things the conventional way. We just, we go with what we feel is best for us. And in this occasion, we were able to make the switch, make the change, move the freshwater tank from one of the bays to this space that we had available. Again, this is where the generator used to go. Since then, we have not had the need to use this space for a generator. We knew that it was just going to be left empty. So yeah, it was better for us to move the freshwater tank up front, and thus we are left with an entire bay for our storage. And again, it has worked extremely well for us. As far as the insulation goes, not only did we insulate the water tank and all of the plumbing coming in, but also all of the plumbing in our RV has been insulated, because we knew from the beginning that we would be traveling during winter time and not specifically into warmer temperatures. We are actually currently in New York, and it has snowed here, and we haven't had any issues with any of our plumbing. So again, if you have been looking for a different way to do things, maybe move your freshwater tank, or if you have a van or some sort of other custom-made vehicle where you need to insulate and protect your freshwater tank, again, you can use our idea, which again for us has worked extremely well. And the only other thing that we added to the water tank was this metal strap, which is just to secure it into place and make sure that as we travel, it won't fall down or anything like that. As I already mentioned, we've had the water tank in this place since the very beginning, and we've had the RV for a little bit over a year already, and it has stayed intact. We have traveled a lot, up and down hills and mountains, and it has worked extremely well. As always, we want to thank you for watching our videos. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram for more of our day-to-day activities, and also remember that we have a website with much more information, including our blogs. We hope to see you on the next video or on the road. Stay safe and keep on RVing.